Hey fam, it's your girl Nachi, and I'm here with.
Damaris, also known as Negrita Linda.
Yes, yes, you are.
Thank you, sister. I meant to hit mute and I'm giving myself an applause. Oh, that was
But
my
that's
father.
no, because that is you.
Oh my goodness.
Let me
That
thank myself.
okay. Wait a minute. I really meant to mute myself for a hot second and I hit the clapping button. That's staying in.
Oh my goodness, I love it. So, anyway, welcome back, fam, for another episode. This one is, I think it would hit home for many of us. And a while back, Damaris and I had this conversation around the whole boycott happening with some of these big companies due to their stance on DEI and dismantling those those programs within their organization. And it got us to thinking about there's something more to that. It's bigger than we need to boycott. We actually need to deal with the bigger issue of overconsumption. And so on this episode, we're going to talk about consumerism versus living abundantly. Because I don't know about you, I know I'm hooked on trying to get something the next day or 2 days from from now, and everything I see, I want it. And I think that's where what we really want to kind of get into is that feeling that we need to buy something so that we can either feel better or feel successful or even feeling enough just because we need to have that thing. And so we want to kind of go get into that and actually create reminders for ourselves that buying isn't going to, we can't buy into a good life. And we need to really think about how we can build it together, right? And think about those things in terms of how can we consume consciously? How can we be aware of where our dollars are going to? And so that's what we want to get into today. And so I'm going to let Damaris start us off here.
Yes, thank you, sister. So, when we talked about this, and that's a great intro because that's the context we need as to why even thinking about what does it truly mean to live abundantly versus living a life of consumerism. Right?
Right.
What's the difference? And what kicked it off was, yes, this hot button of a topic, DEI. Just again, to give a little bit more context, I remember when this was a thing before this current president, the current administration started to dismantle it heavy. But even some 6 years ago, this presentation of an idea of like, oh, DEI, we need this for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yay. I already knew the fix was in.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was a banana in the tailpipe. But I get why, for people that look like us, feel so strongly about it, right? And have such a visceral reaction to the fact that these programs are being dismantled and removed from these big corporations and all that good stuff. And while I do believe in boycotts,
Yes.
I believe they serve a purpose, and we should be judicious about where we spend our money. But we should be even more judicious about and really contemplating about why are we spending our money and how we're doing that. Why are we spending it that way versus just deciding not to spend it at a particular place?
Yeah, it's like as soon as the money is in our pockets, we're ready to spend it. We're already
Right.
thinking about, oh, what am I going to get? I need to get this.
And as I was, because when this came up, as I was thinking about why do people react so strongly towards it, and the reason I didn't react strongly towards it was because I already knew when this was a thing du jour to do by corporations 5 6 years ago. I knew the fix was already in. It was never really meant for us because if you look at the stats, and I believe they're in the stats of like the Department of Labor and some other organizations, the groups that benefited the most from DEI are white women, followed by veterans. Congratulations to both groups. This is not an indictment against either one. This is just a point of people that look like me. Why are we so worked up for initiatives that were never meant for you to begin with? So those are the groups and the people that should be out in the streets marching and, having the corporations bring those programs back in because it benefits those groups the most.
Right.
So again, then it brings me back to, why do we care so much about this? And again, why is it through the lens of how we spend our money and where we're spending our money? That's what's driving this boycott and this, I want to make this change for DEI. And again, this isn't an episode about DEI or to say that we're for or against. It's, I'm indifferent towards it because it never benefited our groups anyway to begin with. It just didn't. The
Right.
stats are the stats. I'm not going to argue with that.
Right.
And you can argue with the air if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, this is more about speaking about living abundantly and not constantly
Right.
consuming.
But it's important to understand why we even thought about this topic and why it's
Yeah.
even a thing. And so for me, living abundantly is a life that is fulfilled, not
Mhm.
filled.
Mhm.
Fulfilled, meaning it's not a busy life and it's not a busy life of just things. Because
Mhm.
Nachi already knows I'm a person that can't do more than 3 things in a day.
Mhm.
I am a manifester by human design. My human design is manifester, and we cannot be constantly doing. We're not generators.
Right. Right.
We're not manifesting generators. That's not our thing.
Mhm.
I have some big ideas. I execute for a certain amount of time and then I move. I have to move on. I have to rest. So for me, living abundantly isn't about, I have all these things that show the status of my life. No, it's okay. How happy am I as far as having my needs met? And yes,
Mhm.
someone's. This is not
Mhm.
to say that I don't like good things. Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Trust me, I have plenty of Gucci bags, but I also was able to afford my Gucci bags. And
Right.
I've evolved from just having just a kind of brand. I look for quality, and now it's like, oh, who's this designer? Oh, they look like me? Fantastic. And they do great quality, even better.
Mhm.
But if I'm choosing to spend my money, I'm thinking about where I'm spending it and why I'm spending it and that I can spend it, but not because I feel like I have to do this as a form of status or, like for me, it's about having more than enough and the capacity to share the overflow. And that makes me happy. And living also abundantly is that I can cover for myself and then some and
Right.
enjoy that with my peoples.
Right.
With
And sometimes abundance is just more about being content with what you have, right? It's kind of going along the lines what you were saying. It's rooted in your purpose, whether it's spiritual, emotional, or even relational wealth. It you really if we want to compare it to consumerism really relies on our sense of lack because we're always looking to satisfy something that we feel like we don't have. And like to your point, when you talked about your Gucci bags, I could remember there was a time, or there's still people out there who feel like, oh, I need to have this name brand accessory. And that is to me, a form of status. Like people will look at that as a status. Like, so if I have a Gucci bag, they think I got money. And the real thing is, when we talk about that, you got to look at your bank account. Is the bag that you're holding the only thing that you have of value? You have $0 in your account. You're worried about how you're going to pay your bills next month. I think we need to kind of look at,
reevaluate.
right.
Absolutely. And that's because consumerism is a trap.
It is. It is.
And in preparing for this episode, I came across this video, and it's funny because this is, you kind of have to understand the history of what drives consumerism, and in particular, consumerism for Black people. And so,
Mm-hmm.
this movie, it's called The Secret of Selling the Negro. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a 1954 film that was published by, well, rather, it was a film that was possibly financed by the Johnson Publishing Company, and this is the same company that published Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine. And if it wasn't financed, it was absolutely supported by this
Mm-hmm.
publishing company, because the opening credits to this movie says this is made in support of by the Johnson Publishing Company. And so this movie was created to encourage advertisers and companies to promote their products and services to the African American media. Right. So you can imagine, as a publishing company, you make your money off of ads. So you want big brand to advertise
Mm-hmm.
in your publication. Your publication is dedicated to Black folks. So why not give these people a manual of how do you sell to the Negro,
Right,
which
right.
is actually quite fascinating because everything that I'm going to share, that the notes that I wrote down from that movie, from watching that movie, and it was probably, I think I want to say 15, 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
they still apply today. And that's actually, I'm going to say sad,
Mm-hmm.
because it's such a trap and people get so caught up in this idea of buying. Like, y'all have heard me talk, if you've listened to this podcast, and you know, when we talk about technology and constantly buying the latest new phone or the latest electric vehicle, and understanding the ramifications of, like, while you're buying your 10th iPhone, you have a kid, likely a 4-year old in the Congo, digging for cobalt, the minerals that make up the batteries and the components of your iPhone. And they're risking their lives around these minerals and these things, that, and inhaling these fumes in these places that are not, no 4-year old should be working at. But this is where we're at with it.
Right,
And
right.
as long as it's not in your backyard, you could just ignore that, right? And get your latest new phone.
Yeah, yeah.
So the things from this movie that were highlighted were, which is again true. Number one thing, a product cannot be number one without Negro support. And I'll say I'll replace Negro with Black so people don't get offended. I'm just telling you, this is the movie,
What they
right?
said,
Yeah,
in the
and
movie.
at that time they used the word Negro instead of Black. And those are facts today. You cannot be number one at anything without Black dollars to support it.
Right, right.
So our money holds a lot of power. And our money in particular, Nachi, we fall in both categories, because ethnically, our money can fall in the Latino category. And
Right,
then racially, yes, it falls in the Black category.
right, right.
So, but yes, you can't, we already know the tastemakers, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's number one. And they talked about how in the film, how Black people, they seek recognition. They need more than others because of that. And historically, that makes sense. This is a group of people that have been disenfranchised for hundreds of years, right?
Right, right.
Facets. So the need to be recognized as another human being on this planet that has the right to exist has been something that drives a lot of why you may see Black folks doing what they do. And consumerism is one of those things where it's like, no, recognize me, I can do this and
Mm-hmm,
more.
mm-hmm.
So that's why when I go back to the DEI and the visceral reaction a lot of folks in the Black community had about the dismantling of these programs, even though these programs primarily benefited several groups before it even actually benefited Black people.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why, is this idea of recognition. And you have corporations playing off of that to get you to consume. And then you fall into this trap of, like, oh, but I need to, because I need to show you that I can afford this. Or, and not only can I afford this, I'm intelligent enough that I have all these degrees behind my name,
Mm.
and I can pay all of this. I can have several homes. I can have a summer home too. I can have all these cars. And this is not to say that you can't afford it. Sure. But do you need, what's driving you to buy these things? That's my question. It's not about, like, yeah, you do whatever the hell you want to do with your money. But think back about why. Why are you doing it to let your neighbors know that you're good? Or are you doing this because you love this? And I think about our father, Boppy, growing up, he loved driving Mercedes Benz. That was his thing. And for some people, I'm sure they probably just assume, like, oh, he's showing off that he's got a good job, or, he works 2 jobs, so he's making a lot of money. My father wasn't a man to show off. He was a man that loved good things.
Right.
And he was one that was always very generous. You could say whatever you want about my father. If we're out with several people, he's paying for the bill because he wants to. Because
Right.
he's so grateful for how he grew up without anything, that now that he has something, he has overflow. So that is what he's sharing. But I bring up his love for Mercedes Benz because the reason he loved those cars was not so much that they were a status symbol, which I'm sure there was some, part of that was in there. But he went to school in Berlin. So he was educated in being an engineer, and he understood and knew that this German made car, Mercedes Benz, was top of the line because of its engineering and how it's built. And so for him, it's about the quality. And that's how I feel about things when I purchase big ticket items. I like it because, oh, I know this is going to last me. And those things still have lasted me like 15 years. Not she just complimented me on a pair of pants that I was wearing yesterday that I purchased from Century 21, one of the best stores in New York City before they closed it down.
21.
Girl, these Derek Lamb pants that again are probably easily 10 years old. They were probably, I probably got them for like, who knows, less than $100, but they were like in the store $500 plus. But Century 21 price, but it was well made. It's like this nice, durable, like tweed like material. It's just, and so, yeah, do I like a brand name stuff? Yeah, but I also like the quality. And so, this going back to this secret of selling the Negro, they talked about three habits of a Black buyer. They buy by brand, products by name, and they're quick to refuse off brands. Because again, historically, Black people were sold shoddy shit all the time. So this is why it was important when they went into stores to buy things. They wanted specifically what the brand was that they're calling out, because they knew that then they were going to receive the right quality, versus you tell them, like, the salesperson trying to just push them any kind of particular product, because typically they were always sold the shoddy, crappy brands.
Right.
So all of this is again, this is all psychological warfare, right? So they know, like, oh, they know that this is a thing for Black people. So I'm going to appeal to this because I know that you want this brand because you don't want that cheap shit. And
Right.
that's understandable. The other thing is that Black people want good quality merchandise. Admiration and approval from friends and family influenced the opinions of others. And so they were easily influenced by the opinions of others, which I think is not just for Black people. I think that's for society in general. And
Especially in this society where it's like we buy into the whole American dream. And
yeah.
so people get into really bad debt because they're trying to strive this American dream. So yeah, it does
And you want the
affect.
approval. And seeking approval is because you're influenced by the opinion of others.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's something that, again, I feel like this is everybody in society. It's different degrees for everyone. And for me, over the last 5 years, that degree for me has gone down dramatically.
Yeah, because when you think about like high school and college years, having name brand
Oh, of
anything
course.
was the thing. It's like you had, whatever name
That's what I'm saying.
brand. It's
Everybody goes
like,
through it. Yeah.
yes, yes. And it's when you get older and you start realizing and you really start working for your money where you start to think, I'm not giving
Do
you
I
my
need this?
money.
Or if I do it, it's just like, why am I doing it? And again,
Right.
it's not
Do I
meant to
really
stop
need
you.
this?
Right. And by all means, I'm still going to spend my money on certain things that I like because I just
Hmm.
like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, but it's very interesting that for me, I've come to a place in my life where I just don't care about what people think anymore.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that it doesn't creep up. I have to actively work on this every single day of my life. Because when I think about, if I get upset about something, about what someone said, then I have to reflect on, why am I irritated? Oh, because I care that they think this about me. Oh, okay. Remember, I don't give a fuck. Bye. Then it's like, oh, okay, well, that's a you thing. All right, I don't
Right.
care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and then lastly, the third thing was, um, that when Black people ask for a specific thing, they shouldn't be persuaded to buy something else, because the Black person wants to be sold on quality and not by price, because they'll feel affronted. Again, we understand the history behind that.
Hmm.
And this is really just to share about the I'm sorry. This is just ultimately the goal of the movie was that the Black person wants to be treated like everyone else. And this is again why you see people feel a certain way about the DEI programs, or just this I am just like you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just
So I
treat me
went to
like
it.
everyone
Right.
else.
Right. Right.
Acknowledge that. And then I start to think, why do we need that acknowledged by anyone? It
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just at this point it's just too much work.
And
And I
really,
get it, and I know we're not all there. And it's
yeah.
people are gonna be like, it's easier said than done, Damaris. Sure.
No, but if you really think about it, it's about setting values for yourself, right? It doesn't, like I mentioned before earlier on the episode, we're so inundated with influencers. Like we have social media now where we're constantly hit with something new, a new gadget. I swear to you, every time I'm on social media, I feel like I come away with it with, oh, I think I need that. I'm not even going to
Girl,
tell you
yes.
the countless times I purchased something thinking that I needed it and I really didn't. And even my own sister could be an influencer because she'll come and say, look what I got. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get that too.
Facts.
But, if you really sit down and think about the things that you place value and what it has led me to look at now as an adult is, okay, where's my money going towards? I don't mind spending money if I find value in what I'm spending my money in.
Yes.
And I'm also intentional now. I wasn't before, but now I am, especially like with this whole DEI and how I feel like they're always playing in our faces.
All the
And
time. This is why I'm like, the fix is in. We need to relax because
it's just
it
like,
was
you know
a
what? I'm not even
scam.
gonna waste my time because I know where I can these certain companies that are out there aren't the only people who are providing either the services or the product that we're looking for. We
That's
just
it.
have to get away from
Hard stop.
Yes. We just have to get away from, again, that instant gratification. Like, I need this now. Trust me, I am that person. Like, oh, it could come to me tomorrow, but I'm not even going to lie to you. There are times that I have boxes in my kitchen for days. So I don't really need
Unopened.
it. Right. I don't need it.
Unopened.
I don't need it tomorrow or 2 days from now. So I could go ahead and order it from a company that I find value in.
But they'll take 5 to 7 days to ship it.
And
That's
that's
fine.
okay. That's okay.
This is the Amazon mindset. This is where people have gotten so caught up with
But that's how
Prime.
they get
Yeah,
us
the
because
trap of consumerism. So you feel like, oh, let me buy with the from the bigger company because I know I'll get it in 2 days versus waiting a
mhm
whole week for it.
mhm
And
mhm
this is just it's all a scam. And so to your point is, why am I spending, reassessing and being thoughtful about how we're spending our money and where?
right.
Because
Even
again, yeah,
taking it back to your own community, like buying locally is
yes,
even more important than anything else because you're putting money right back into the community that you actually live in.
yes,
So it's like you have to think bigger. Like, we work too hard for our money for us to just freely give it away like it's nothing. You got it. You can have my money. No, not if you don't stand by the values that I stand for.
that's it. I want companies to jump through hoops.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, like the companies that are being boycotted, I don't even shop there. I don't.
Mhm.
I don't shop
Mhm.
at the Circle store. I don't shop at the Wall store. I don't I don't shop at those places.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just don't.
But and now
But
I
I
do want
understand that certain where you may live, you may not
yes.
have a choice. And that's
Right.
why again, I'm like, if you have to, you got to provide for yourself. You got to figure out what's right for you. But then to your point of like, just reassess where you spend your money on those other things that you know you don't
Exactly.
need right now, this moment,
Exactly.
if you really want to affect change. And this conversation isn't about affecting change because again, those programs were already a scam for y'all. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But and now they thrown it in y'all face saying it's because of those programs that we're now
Mhm.
crashing.
Right,
Okay.
right, right. Yeah, so it's about shifting your value, shifting what in the way you look at these different companies and what you value. Like, does it align with your own personal values?
And then what are your personal values? Right? Because the question is, what are we trying to prove and to whom with this
Right,
purchase?
right, right, right.
Why do we care? Why do
Mm-hmm.
we care? And when I
Mm-hmm.
say we, I mean you. Why do
Right.
you care when you're going through that process of making a purchase, big, small, medium? What do you need to heal from? Because the reality
Mm-hmm.
is like, do you feel you need to buy this to, I'ma show them, I'ma show Kevin from fifth grade when he said I wore these bum ass sneakers. Kevin ain't thinking about you.
Right, right,
Kevin ain't who you doing this for?
right.
Did you ever heal from that? I'm just throwing it out there because for some people it'll be something that they didn't even think about, but it's been in their subconscious.
Because of what they dealt with.
And I hear that. And I'm asking you to sit with that, because a lot of the times, again, it's so easy to buy from your phone on that app instead of thinking
Mm-hmm.
about for 5 minutes, why am I really getting that? And people are
Yes.
going to be like, oh my God, you don't need to think that deeply over everything. I think
No,
you should.
right, but it's not even that deep.
It
It's
doesn't have
it
to be.
right, right. It's just about, again, are you not sick and tired of always having to be like, "Oh, now we got to boycott X, Y, and
Right.
Z." Oh, we like, you know what? How about I just think about where I purchase my stuff?
No,
Like,
that's it. That's being a conscious consumer. Absolutely. Because I think about, for me, I use hair gel, right, as a way to, as my styler for my hair. And a lot of hair gels don't work with my hair. They work for Nachi's hair. Nachi, she uses whatever product she wants, and her hair magically looks beautiful. So she could use a $3 gel, looks the same as a $15 gel. Not
right.
me. My hair is like, I want the best or nothing else. And but here's what I found. This wonderful hair gel that is made by a Black woman owned company. She produces it out of Atlanta. It started out in her kitchen, and now she's got a full on, place to do her stuff. And when I order it, it takes like a week to a week and a half to receive it. So I
Hmm.
buy it in bulk.
Yeah,
I just work with the
because that
system.
makes sense, right?
Right. And my hair loves it and thrives with it. So that's what I'm using.
Hmm.
And it's nice to know where my money's going. And yes, is her hair gel more expensive? Yeah, but she's using stuff like aloe vera gel proper and other stuff and other ingredients that work for my hair. Like, my hair is just very sensitive. The same way my insides don't like a lot of types of foods. That's how my hair is. It's just like, what is
You
this?
just can't give your hair any old
I just
thing.
can't give her any regular degular gel.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wish I could use a $3.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say the name of that brand. That be at all the beauty supply stores, but I can't. I just can't. Not because I think I'm better. My hair thinks she's better. So that's where we're at with it. But guess what? But I found the right gel that works for me. When I found that it's going to a person, a small business,
Hmm.
a Black woman owned business, you can find it. And those are daily essentials that you would find at those big box stores. But I don't need to go to those big box
All right,
stores.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. And I do the same. Like I'm very intentional, especially when, like, for Christmas, for example, where everybody is shopping. Like,
Right.
I try to look at Black women owned businesses where I can purchase some of my items. So I've purchased like gift wrap from some of these companies.
Look at you. You're so
I've
cute.
When your husband was into cigars, that was from a Black woman owned business. They were actually they were Cuban. It's just like purposefully look first to see, like, okay, let me see if there's a Black owned business that's already selling this type of item, because I'm a first purchase there before anything
My
else.
sister don't even know how to put her stuff on Do Not
Yeah,
Disturb.
well,
Her phone ringing in the middle of a recording.
because I have alarm.
That's how much she respects the listeners.
No, I respect my mother because I have to put things
You mean your mother
on
who's staying with me this weekend?
this weekend.
Anyway, carry on. Carry on, not you, please. Do not bring in
No, you're the one.
our laundry into
You the
this
one who wanted to
conversation.
bring it in. You the one who wanted to bring it in. So anyway, it's about just just going back to what I was saying. It's being intentional with your purchase and what you do. It's not about, like, let me see what's the quickest way I can get this. And I feel like people have and this is the other thing. And I felt this as when I was selling my own soaps and lotions. People who purchase from small businesses always feel that, oh, it's too expensive. I can get this from Walmart or Amazon or whatever. And it's like, but do you understand that this small business, the amount of time that they're putting in, they don't have a huge manufacturing company producing these items for a lesser cost. These are
Right.
people who are actually doing this by hand, have a very small team.
And you also can't do stuff at wholesale. Like, you can't buy the bulk, like, you don't get the same discounts that these big box stores do.
Right.
So your ingredients are going to be more expensive too.
And to me, I find more value of someone who's actually producing it themselves.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I love handmade things, you know? And I'm not talking about crafty things. I'm thinking about people stitching, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're
Yeah.
taking their time. And yes, I would pay for that because I find more value in that than, you know, some machinery producing whatever it is that I'm looking for. I find that there's, you know, I feel there's more of a quality to the product. But I'm saying this to remind folks out there when they are buying from small businesses that don't try to compare prices to these bigger companies because it will never match.
No, you're always
It
going to
will
get a better
never
deal
match.
with the bigger companies. Again, it's just ultimately what is driving how you're
What
spending
is
your
your
money.
right? What's driving that
What's
purchase?
And we are talking about the consumerism aspect of this all, but honestly, like we have to look at this holistically. I feel better when I spend my money in places that I know is going directly to people, a community, a family
Mm-hmm.
versus a
Mm-hmm.
corporate machine. And not
Yes.
that people aren't running a corporate machine and they also don't need, they also have livelihoods, etc. But you don't need my money, right?
Right. Right.
And you tell me you don't need my money, but you say, "Oh, we're gonna cut this program." Okay, then that's cool. Have
Right.
it. Don't
Right.
have money either. That's cool. This is a win-win situation for me. And it's
Right.
just a matter of doing the work to just spend an extra 5 minutes to find someone that can provide you that service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And look, and not all small business doesn't mean like automatically they should get your money. That doesn't mean that if a small business provides shitty customer experience, you stick with them at all costs. No.
Absolutely not.
And we
Trust me.
won't go into that, right? But it's just like, again, just being judicious about how you do that, and to me that can contribute to living that abundant life, because for me is about how I feel that I'm my needs are being met, that I'm living a fulfilled life. And that could be with like, oh my gosh, I love that I purchased this thing that is
Mm-hmm.
unique,
Mm-hmm.
and it also benefits this, this group of people. Win-win. I feel
Right.
fantastic. Also, when I think about moving away from just the mindset of consumerism and moving and trying to break free from that, I think about engaging experiences more over the possessions,
Yeah.
right? I think about the family trips that we had growing up. Those are the memories that stuck with me, not necessarily the things our parents bought us.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Those are
yeah.
the memories that I have in my head of growing up, are those times we went out like a family, or the trips we went on, or the funny thing that your mom said, or the funny thing your father did. Those are the things that stick with me. So if we think about that, is how I felt my life has been abundant, and it's been abundant because of the people in my life and how I've spent my time with them and the experiences that I've lived through. It's in particular with traveling. Like those are things that will stay with me and have influenced me and make me happy that at this point in my life, like, yeah, I'm glad I did these things. I can't tell you the my first big purchase in life. Not really, because though
Mm-hmm.
that's just a possession.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's just like, as I'm thinking through how we can break free of consumerism, and the reason why I think we should be breaking free is because it is a trap. It is the cycle of like constantly needing to purchase. And why?
Right.
Why?
Well, like you said, our parents valued the experience before anything, and we never had anything name brand. I used to have
No.
Payless shoes. My sneakers, I swear to you, was from Favor. Whoever remembers that
Okay,
store.
favor. If you know, you know.
Right. They didn't, trying to buy name brand anything wasn't a thing for them
That
because
wasn't.
because they value more those experiences. And then that's what we're kind of getting at, is that what is it that you value more? Because it's true, the latest and greatest that you purchase either for yourself or someone else, it's going to be long forgotten. No one's going to remember years from now, like, so and so bought
We
this
had a lot of
necklace.
Barbies, and I can't tell you all the Barbies we got. No,
No, no.
sorry.
And I purchased some stuff for my own kids, and just they only remember half,
No,
10% of what I gave them.
exactly.
So it's about thinking about what you value more today and where you will
Yeah,
put your dollars.
and from that, you probably will end up practicing minimalism, even though that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the intent. But minimalism is important. Again, is do you need all these material things? And in the process of moving in the big move that I did last year, there were things that, yeah, you have to get rid of, and you need to also declutter your life
You do.
and to make room for other things. And having a bunch of goods, if it's not doing anything, it's just taking up energetic space, physical space and energetic space. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
If you haven't used it in, I'm gonna say 3 years. If it's my husband, he's like, if you haven't used it in 6 months, get rid of it. And I'm like, you're wild, because 6 months from now, you're gonna be like, where's that thing? Let me go buy it again for the fifth.
Look, there have been times that I've purchased things twice.
This is what I don't like to be in that position.
Yes,
So,
that is terrible.
which is sad, because then that's the part hoarder in me from your father.
Yes, girl, I
So
know
it's like
it.
it's a balance that we have to straddle. But yeah, practice minimalism. Like, go through your stuff and declutter.
Yeah,
That'll help you
before you
think
purchase
about,
anything, yes.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
get rid of something, because you need to
Mm-hmm.
make space for it
Yeah, absolutely.
on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and you talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but it's that practice of gratitude,
Yeah.
appreciating what you have at this moment.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Why is what you have is enough. If
It is.
if the good Lord tells me right now that where I'm at in life is what is going to be for the rest of my life, praise God, I'm
Okay.
happy.
You're like,
Thank
okay.
you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Because God has been good to me. But that's what happens when you're a highly favored child of the Most High. And you have
A-
to recognize when you're a highly favored child.
Amen.
So you got to move that way.
You do. You do. You got to see, okay,
But it ain't in the, oh, I'm moving this way because that's what I want to get XYZ. No, I have everything I need right now. My life is good. My life is lit.
right. You got to ask yourselves if this is a need, a want, or is this ego driven?
Hmm.
And that's it. And figure out what bucket it falls and make your decision.
Yeah,
But
because these companies want you to be in this perpetual cycle of constantly buying, buying, buying. That's how they exist. But you don't have to be. It's a choice,
yeah, it
as is
definitely is a
everything in
choice.
life. So, what do you want to prioritize? I would say prioritize your self care. That's taking a
Mm-hmm.
nap. Relax. Why you need to be out here in these streets trying to buy something?
Right, right.
Kevin ain't thinking about you from the fifth grade. You don't have to show and prove to anybody.
And traveling, like we talked about that in a previous
Yes.
episode, and you don't even have to travel outside of the country. I mean, you could do that, you could do it locally. There are
Yeah,
cities and
domestically,
towns.
like, there's so many places in this country to visit, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to worry about, like, a passport.
Right. And
I
even
mean,
within your own state, because I'm sure there's,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you could always find something within reach. It doesn't always necessarily, like I was talking to my esthetician earlier today and talking about
She's so
trips.
fancy, my esthetician.
And she would, that's part of self-care. I
Exactly.
incorporate
Prioritize.
that. I
You're
budget
living
that. Right,
abundantly.
right. I budget that quarterly. It's part of my
Come
quarterly
on now.
budget. It's a must have. It's a must have.
Hello.
But we were talking about trips, and she was like, "Yeah, you could take them." She was like, "Girl, take them to Virginia Beach or Massanutten." Like she's like, go into
Yes.
the mountains. They could go kayaking and stuff like that. And all of those, areas are close to us.
Right.
It's not far, but the whole idea of it doesn't have to be far. It doesn't have to be in another state. It doesn't have to be another country. You can
Yes.
enjoy experiences within your reach, within your local area. It's just how you
Exactly.
look at it.
Yeah. And really, we need a new system. But
Hmm.
that system, we need to stop looking outside of ourselves for that system. That
Right.
system is you.
Yeah.
You wield a lot of power with your money.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
people forget that it's an energy exchange. You give your money for a service, a product, it's still an exchange. The same way you do work, you get money, right? It's currency.
Hmm.
It's an exchange of energy. It is an exchange of money, all that good stuff. And so when you think of it that way, it's so much bigger than just boycotting a store.
Right.
It's changing the system of your life and how you move about.
How you
How are you
prioritize.
moving about
Hmm.
in this cabin, this
Hmm.
aircraft of life?
Hmm. Yeah.
You are free to move about the the cabin. And I say that because I'm the captain of my airplane. And so it's just I think this is where, and it's funny because all of this was coming to us all through because of the whole hoopla of boycotting DEI.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, what is really the root of this?
Is our
Why,
overconsumption.
yeah, why is boycotting a thing? Oh, because that's all we do is constantly consume, constantly buying stuff. Why are we always buying stuff? Oh, because we feel we need to show that we got it. We this is a status we have. Why do we feel we need to do that? Who do we need to show and prove to? Because we've been conditioned to believe that we are not enough. Who told us that? Someone that ain't the God. Guys, this is how I think.
The conversation Damaris is
This
having.
is all in my head.
This is a reenactment of the conversation that Damaris has with herself.
And I was like, here we go, podcast episode, reloading.
Oh my gosh. But that's all true.
But if you just
You're
sit down
hitting
for
on it.
5 minutes,
Yes.
and this is what I thought through in 5 minutes, I was like, as is everything else in life. And so I refuse to participate in the scam. And I'm asking you to stop as well. Participate in your own system.
Right.
You design that.
Right. And that could look like supporting more Black businesses, indigenous businesses, immigrant-owned businesses.
Anything you want it to be, you can be. In today's world, we need to be building community. And now, here's what we didn't have decades before: the opportunity to build community across international lines. Because now, with the interwebs and all those good things, borders don't stop us now from interacting with our community, with people that think like us. Because let me tell you, when I look at our stats, I see you, Germany. We have some listeners out in Germany.
Okay.
That listen to us regularly. And so this is what I'm talking about. Our message is being heard by somebody out there.
Right.
So this is what we need to be doing. You just need to figure that out for yourself. It's not about waiting for someone else, some entity to tell you how you should be spending your money or how you should feel about yourself, why you should buy something. Nah. Why? Who are you? Who are you? This is it. Who are you? So yeah. So as I got to say.
No, and I think you hit all good points. So we have to think more of community and connection. And like you said, it's like we're stretching beyond the four corners of where we live. It's being able to create these networks and sharing information or even goods. I mean, we got to think beyond that, right? Like, how can we all work together? And that's what it boils down to.
I love buying fruits and produce, meat from local farmers by me. I love that. I live for that.
Yep, me too. It's the best feeling when you're purchasing from individuals who are working, like it's their hands in the soil that they're planting this and sowing the seeds,
and they do it for the love because they're not rich.
No,
so they're not doing this. They're not doing this to be like, oh, let me be the next, tech billionaire.
Right.
No. So I love it. I really do hope that you have come away. Number one, I hope that you listen to this episode throughout to the end, because I think it got really funny towards the end, especially listening to my thought process. You're really getting to know me. So that's like a pop quiz. If you ever run into me in these streets, I'd be like, so how I really be thinking?
Right. But I also want to hear what others are doing. Like, I know it's not just us who think this way and have shifted in the way we use our money. I want to know what others are doing. Like, how are you making those changes? I'd like to share this. Yeah.
Actually, folks, when this episode launches on Substack, because our podcast episodes are now distributed through Substack podcast and still distributed through to all the major platforms, but the conversations are happening on Substack, and you can subscribe freely to the platform and to our Substack channel. And it's very easy to have ongoing conversations about this episode. And we would love to hear from you about your thoughts and how you're addressing things like that. And with that, I think,
and if you have a small business, shout out. We like to hear, because I like to buy.
We like to buy thoughtfully.
Yes. I
But
ain't just
yeah,
gonna
we
buy,
want
but
that money.
yes.
Right, right. Because now she's making it sound like she's like, make it rain. Whoever wants my money, you got it. Okay, chill, chill, baby. I'm just saying.
But there might be others who want to buy
That is
too.
true.
So
Exactly, exactly. So we want to share the wealth. We want to share the information.
yes.
So, as always, we want to thank our listeners for listening, and hopefully, you've listened throughout the end and have taken away some information that you feel is going to help you or anybody else. Feel free to share our episode with someone you think that could really use this information, because we want the word to be spread and to have a growing community. So, as a reminder, there's a lot of noise out there, but our message is consistent. Stop getting distracted by the smoke and mirrors like DEI. Tune out the noise and focus on your divine purpose in life. Vibrate higher to elevate your frequency. And always thank you for listening.